Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look into the architectural styles and how they can evoke certain emotion within the players. Come in, join me, get rested, and let's start discussing. Hey everyone, I hope you're well, playing and making the games that you all love. Thank you very much for joining me, whether it is morning, afternoon, or night. I hope that you are all well, your family is safe, and that you're here for a good time, because this one's quite an interesting one. One that I just kind of threw together in the last minute, so I'm kind of holding my breath myself to realize if this is actually going to turn out into an episode that's worth releasing or not. So fingers crossed. If you heard it, great job past me. If you haven't, well, hey, we tried. So this one's going to be talking about that of architectural styles and why it's important for us as level designers to learn about them, use them in our blockouts, and how that can actually reach out to players and also sell certain either themes or invoke certain sorts of emotions that we want the players to feel as they start to progress and move through our levels, our worlds, right? And it's been such a fascinating one. Just to let you know, I do not know everything about architecture. I am still learning about this. So if any of you amazing gurus have some resources, some recommendations for me to learn from, please shoot them across, because I would love to know. I have read a fair few books, but again, that does not mean I am a master by any amount. And as I said, I'm just using it from my experience. I will probably recommend a couple of books as we go through. So there might be, again, links to these down in the descriptions. I'm not sure. We'll see how we go this and where we wing it. And probably reference a couple of interviews as well, and possible other things that you should check out, which will hopefully increase your knowledge upon the subject matter as well. But first, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is none other than me. What I've done, everyone, and I hope you're excited for this, is I've actually created a level design kind of store. What I've done in this store is put up different kinds of tips and tricks that you can find there, whether that be my actual ebook itself, to that of level design pamphlets focused on different things such as traversal, stealth, breaking into the industry, as well as different talks that I have done which you cannot find anywhere else other than on this store. So if you are looking to improve on your level design skills and processes, then check out the Level Design Store, which will be down in the description below, where there'll be a link to find this. All you need to do is head over to gumroad.com/level design lobby. I hope you like what you see, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you, and now back to the show. So now let's go on to architecture and different styles and why is it important. Now, depending on the game that you will be working on, there's going to be a few things that you might be creating with, right? Whether that be a more organic space, if it's out in the woodlands, think of something more God of War, or it might be something more city-based. Imagine something like Grand Theft Auto, right? And depending on the studio as well, different teams may be working on the architectural set. It can be environment artists, as we've spoken about before. Rockstar seem to not really employ level designers or employed level designers traditionally to actually block stuff out. That seems to be more on the artist. Miriam, who did a great talk at GDC, is it 2018, I want to say, maybe around that time, who is a former architect. She's incredible. I think she's just, if you haven't watched the talk, I'll link to it down below, but she talks about her previous experience in architecture, and she talked about cinematography as well, as I stumble through my words, and how they use that. But others, such as working on The Division and Cyberpunk myself, we actually block out those spaces. Again, some parts with the help of environment artists as well, but we also have urban designers. Some companies have this role, others do not. For those of you who don't know, urban designers are kind of the equivalent of an urban planner if we were building a city from scratch. We hire urban planners, urban designers to help us actually go through and put the open world, the city together to make it enjoyable, to lead the player, pull the player in certain directions, as well as give us a better structure that can meet and match the narrative. And with their understanding, they could possibly actually recommend these architectural styles per district and sub-district to help sell that story, whether that be certain areas having an abundance of wealth to other areas living in poverty, right? So that is the role of an urban designer. But this really helps us as level designers, because if you are working in a more city-based game, that helps us because we understand, okay, well, what is the architecture we need to match not only that of the district, but also the narrative, and put those elements together, right? So this is why I recommend you learning about architecture. And we've all heard and seen about it, right? The simple blocky style of early, and myself included when I say this, early blockouts when you're first starting to try and get into the industry, when you're first getting into level design itself, we tend to go through and actually make more square box style of level designs, right? Eventually it goes past that and we start playing around with angles, curvature, all of these. But what really should help inspire us is that of architectural styles. Now, there's many out there, and as I said, I do not know enough about even one category to pretend I'm a master, let alone everything that there is. You know, you've got a range from ancient Greek, ancient Roman, Byzantine, all the way to modern, postmodern, late modernism, deconstructionism, which is crazy, neon futurism, which now looking back on Cyberpunk, I feel we should have pushed a few more of that, and brutalism, international art deco, gothic. It kind of goes on and on, right? But it's important to know a bit about some. I don't necessarily know about all, simply because when I mentioned that of ancient Greek or ancient Roman, that would really come into your research when it comes to, say, if you were working on the Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or if you wanted to learn about ancient Egyptian, and there would have been Assassin's Creed Origin, right? So you need to understand the style of that. Now, like I said, it might be on the urban designer to first inform you of that, or maybe the art director, lead level designer. It can come from different people, because at the end of the day, deciding this, it's not always on one person. It's a group that come up with these, but they will help you pick out what it is that you want to, that you should focus on. Sorry, not what you want to. If you can't go throwing ancient Greek into a futuristic landscape, right? You could obviously throw a nod to it, but yeah, it wouldn't work. And now, with that being said, go learn about these. I think there's some great articles out there online which will teach you. There is a really nice book series called How to Read, which is all about that of different styles. They've got how to read modern buildings, how to read houses, how to read, I think it was like castles as well. And each of them has a certain subgenre, should we say, like modern buildings versus castles. You can clearly hear where you're going to roughly be spending your time learning on through, or subjects that you'll be learning on when you go through the books. And once you start to see these kind of commonalities between the genres, shall we say, the styles, now it's on you and I to place that into our blockouts. Now, some of this is obviously based on materials, and I think that we can get away with it. We've talked about color coding before, just as you would color the grass to be green, dirt to be brown, rocks grey, etc. I think that you can get away with doing that similarly within your buildings as well. Now, you'll need to speak with your team, as each blockout, and as we talked about, each company has different rules, regulations for those who work there, right? So you need to make it clear your intent and why it's important. But not only that, it's then figuring out, well, how can you create that style? Obviously, the artist will help do that when they turn your blockout into a lovely piece of art. But the reason that we're talking about this is it's going to be able to show that much clearer in your work, within your layouts. And I reckon that's so important for us, because not only is this communicating to those who are reviewing our work at the time, to the artists who will inevitably take over it and push it further in their discipline, but it allows that to communicate information of how the player can emotionally feel, right? If you want a place to feel very either scary, or say you want it to have a religious connotation, religious, you might go something more gothic kind of style with it, or you might have a certain layout. In a talk I previously did, which was on it was about spatial composition, and we talked about this. If you look at churches, especially more Western churches are built in the shape of a cross, because it being one of the most prominent symbols of the religion, it's trying to connect, even when you're walking around the space, with that feeling of being closer to God. Also why spires in a lot of religious buildings are prominent, because it's trying to reach up to the heavens. And by learning that, we can already see that can we do similar things with ours.
At Level Design Lobby, we believe everybody has a story to tell. Hobbyist or student, freelancer or veteran, we made it our mission to unite those who share our passion for creating and developing great games. Thanks to our generous Patreon backers, we've been able to do just that. So if you've already pledged your support, thank you. If not, you too can ensure the future of Level Design Lobby, helping us to create even more exciting content, collaborations, interviews, and much more. With awesome perks and rewards, whether you're a seasoned professional or just getting started, you're sure to find something for you. Want to share tips, tricks, and advice with passionate, like-minded developers? Our awesome community Discord has you covered. Fancy practicing your level design, creating strong portfolio content, and having fun? Then try our level design weekends. Or perhaps you want to individually discuss your work, hone your skills, or level up your career? Then consider our one-on-one mentorships. If you share our vision, then go to patreon.com/Level Design Lobby for more information and to pledge your support. Thank you.
Now, there was a level I previously worked on Cyberpunk, and it was a hotel at the time. And one of the things is we wanted the theme to be a bit more on the horror side. It never came out, but the element we're looking at and looking for the reference on the Shining, right? If you look at that building, it's got a lot of doors placed around, which wouldn't actually make sense in terms of spatial abilities, right? How close some of the doors are versus the size of an average room in a hotel. They wouldn't be able to make it that small, but it's playing again on subverting kind of what we know. Something feels off, but we can't quite put our finger on it because not many of us are counting how many doors or the space between doors, right? But after being in so many hotels, it feels off-putting. But we were looking at this, and my first draft just didn't work. It didn't feel right. And then I sank up with my artist at the time, Timmer, who incredible artist. I worked with him on Red Queen's Race, as well as on the Chipping In Eboniki as well. Really incredible artist. And we were going back and forth. And we then just looked at brutalism. We were thinking, how can we do that? And how barren we wanted it to feel, yet raising up roofs to make it feel even more empty as well. So when the player got there, they felt almost lost within the space. And by having such things as pillars, not circular, but more kind of exposed concrete. Now, they were going to be square, but again, it felt less comforting within that. And again, how much we raised things by, etc. But by playing around with that, we could start to make players feel a little bit uneasy. Now, I'm not saying, and this is a big thing you've got to remember when we talk about how to get emotion through the architecture and our level design, it's not going to be like, whoa, I suddenly feel it all right off the bat. Because there's so many elements. Like when we're blocking it out, it's obviously not a finished piece. And in a blockout, not only are you building the space for pacing, it's for gameplay as well, right? But you can play around with that, and simply with, even if your building is destroyed versus complete, that can throw up different emotions for the player. And it can really kind of make them question, are they safe here, right? Just by playing around if something is finished or destroyed. And it's the same with architectural style. By doing elements like this, we could make it feel colder, less inviting for the player. And eventually art would take it further we were going to do an homage pattern style on the carpet to The Shining for it as well. As I said, this never came to fruition. But it was, again, just thinking about this architecturally. How does it work? How can we do something that feels different? And by using these different styles, like one of the things that I really enjoyed as well, funny enough, it was a brutalistic church as well. But I really was inspired because there's actually some over in Warsaw, in Poland, sorry. I think it's near Krakow, one of them. It almost looks like a giant arc, which is fascinating. And it was just how they had, because it's heavy set, thick concrete walls, but they would have these crosses like taken out, like just a hole in the wall to let almost the light shine through. And I used that as an inspiration for a church I built, and it just blew my mind. Again, like if you want to see different cultures as well, check out graveyards. I don't mean physically go, but if you search Mexican graveyard, English graveyard, Russian graveyard, trust me, you're going to see things so vastly different. It will kind of blow your mind. And the same with this. When you're looking at all these different styles, you can see such crazy elements you wouldn't have thought people would use, but yet they still are trying to evoke and express a certain similar emotion, right? And there's some crazy ones out there. Like deconstructivism is a very bizarre style because a lot of critics will insult it because it's not purposeful. It's kind of out there, but I mean, that's why it got its name. Now, that might be a harder one for you to block out, but understanding these can, again, allow you to take that and build it further into your design ethos, your design philosophy. So I hope this was clear. As I said, I'm not sure that I winged this episode, and I'm not too sure if it was as polished or as detailed as maybe I would have liked, but the point stands is what I really want you all to take away from this is when you're going through, you're starting your block out and really looking into this, make sure that you're able to look at if it's decided already in the worlds that you're creating, what is the architectural style? What does that mean for you? What does, say, a bathroom, a lounge, a certain type of room look like in that style? How can you emulate it into your block out? Because, as I said, it's not only does it about give us that clearer emotion and goals for it, but it also helps communicate with your team. So when leads, directors play it, they can see that next style of effort. And if you're struggling as well, speak to your environment artists. They know a lot about this stuff and a great resource for us to learn and grow from. And by you guys and girls talking about this, amazing, because you're building a better relationship, a better rapport, and it'll help them when they go off and artify your block out, give them a clearer vision, and also you roughly know what they're going to create with it, because boom, you're so in sync. But also it's a much more appealing portfolio piece, I think, if you're building something for yourself, for your portfolio. And by having these, I honestly think that we're upping our game. This is no new secret. People have been aware about this, but I think it's just something to remind ourselves with. Because not only does it tie us to a certain time period, tie us to a certain style, but it does give us emotional weight, which we as level designers, not for every game, but it's something that we should always consider as we go through and create our work. So I hope that you have found this useful. I've enjoyed this, and I hope that you all have. I just want to say a huge thank you to the patrons. Without you, your support, none of this is possible. It really helps increase the production level and make things even better. I appreciate those who listen as well, because again, the more that we do, just the better it gets. And those you don't know, I think we're about 100 subscribers away from having 5,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Yes, 90 subscribers away, actually. So if you could please subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. If you could inform friends to check it out as well, family, I would appreciate that. And yeah, I hope that you are having a great time. As I said, enjoy yourselves. If you want to get in touch with me with any recommendations, please do so. You can do so over on Twitter, which is @MaxPairs. You can email into the show, which is leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. And you can support the show at patreon.com/leveldesignlobby. Thank you, everyone. Take care, and I'll catch you all next time.